Welcome back, everybody, to the Real Collective Podcast. I am your host, Sean Tasse, with my esteemed co-host, Kyle Miller. You just keep upgrading every week from guest co-host to esteemed co-host. It's great.
I don't know how many more levels do we have to go? I have to see where that ends.
CEO Kyle Miller,
Yeah.
and then right back down to janitor. It's like
Start over.
remember that card game, President, or we didn't call it.
Yeah. Can we say asshole? Because that's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah. Asshole president. All right. So if you guys are liking the banter, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone you think might find this kind of info quite valuable. You can always download us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify words. And if you'd like to book an appointment with either of us, you can do so in the Calendly link below. Kyle, how you doing, man?
Well, I'm wearing a jacket today, so it must be serious. That's how it goes.
You're going away. Where are you going? You're going overseas?
Yeah, I get to go to Italy this coming week. So we have 10 days booked in Italy, which is gonna be it's gonna be cool. I have a tough time going on vacation because I am my business, but we've got some coverage coming, so no one will be left behind while I'm eating pasta and red wine.
Is that all it is? Just like pasta, bread, red wine, just constant every day.
That's what I heard. I don't know. I've never been there. I heard walking and then pasta, and then don't ask for like bolognese. That's what I've heard so far.
Okay.
TikTok's been really helpful with the travel to Italy tips.
yeah, no doubt. There's a couple of Italian people. You can hit them up before you go.
Yeah.
They'll know. They'll tell you where to go.
Yeah, 100%.
So we wanted to talk today a little bit about good and bad ways to do home improvements. There's some really neat programs that we've that are coming down the pipe from the city, and some people are starting to take advantage of them. And there's also some bad ways to do home improvements, specifically ways that people are getting handcuffed with some of these door-to-door scammers who promise you something. So we'll talk about both. And I think I'll start out with what I just learned about recently was this Better Home Loan program. So it's an Ottawa-based program where you can do upgrades to your house and fund it through the city of Ottawa, which is great. The rate that they're offering is, I think, 4.33, which is pretty decent considering what's going on right now. And it's for improvements to your home that's going to help your energy efficiency, whether it's insulation in your attic or whether it's, changing out your windows, your furnace, et cetera, et cetera. The way it works, they will loan you the money to, make these repairs and upgrades, and then you'll repay them. And that loan is amortized over 25 years. So it means that you're paying 4.33% for the next 25 years. But if the rate comes down from what it is now, it might be more, but it's going to be less than your credit card, or less than some of these companies are charging. So, a neat little thing. One thing that's really funky about it is it doesn't rely on your personal credit rating. It's a loan from the city, and the loan does not ride with you. The loan rides with the property. So very rare to see something like this, that the loan does not, it's not based on your credit, your rating, what you do. And what happens is that whatever, amortize, like, let's say you get a furnace and it's, 10, let's say it's I don't know, I'm trying to think of a number that's easily divisible by 25 years. Let's say it's, let's say you get your windows and it's 25 grand. Okay. And you do all your windows, it's 25 grand. That's $1,000 a year plus four. So, $1,040 per year added to your tax bill. That's it. So you pay that tax bill, and instead of paying your normal $5,000 on your tax bill, you're paying $6,000, whatever it is, the math that I just did.
And then chunked out over 12 months.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you're paying your tax monthly when you pay your mortgage, yes. If you just pay your tax, biannually, some people do it that way as well. That's how it breaks down. and you'll see it as a line item at the very bottom. So like you'll see like water and sewer, you'll see garbage disposal, you'll see all these,
Yeah.
whatever. It'll just be a line item at the bottom, say Better Home Loans Ottawa plan, something like that. And that's it. And the problem is a lot of the times what we're talking about from an agent perspective is it doesn't show up on title. Nobody knows that that loan exists, and the loan rides with the property. So what if you've got that and you go to sell your property? There's no requirement to pay off, right? So now that rides with the new buyer, takes possession of the house, and it might take a while before that buyer realizes, hey, wait a second, how come I'm paying $6,100 per year on my taxes, but my neighbor's only paying $5,000? And they might not even realize, right? Like it might come that like some people might not realize at all.
But is that not similar? It's not the same, but would that not be similar to inheriting someone's rental contract? Like if you've got a furnace from Reliance or whatever, I'll just say Reliance, but whoever, and you inherit that contract, is that not similar? Because that it has to ride with that piece of equipment, right? With that property. So until it's paid for. Now I know you can pay those out. So I think that would be a question is how do I if I have the cash or can get the cash, how much do we still owe? And let's pay it out. Or maybe even similar to, I'm spitballing here, but like a special assessment. If you're in a condo and there's a special assessment, maybe that can be, and you can correct me, but I've seen it where that's part of the negotiation.
Yeah.
Right. There's a special assessment coming for, 20 grand. Tell you what, I've lived here for this long. I'll pay 10. You guys inherit the other 10. And then it's fair because you're gonna benefit this from going ahead. But I've obviously lived here and that should be mine to a degree. Like, could that be how you would look at it?
Yeah, I mean, it all everything's negotiable, as we know, right? So, however you
almost,
want,
almost.
But the problem is, that's all overground.
True.
Right? Like this is really like unless you ask the question specifically in your Schedule A and you say, hey, do you have this thing? Do you have this Better Homes Loans program? And if you do, please disclose it to me. Most agents don't know, but now here, to be fair, as of April this year, I mean, it's September now when we're recording, 50 people have taken advantage of this program in the entire million people who live in Ottawa. So
right.
Is it super prevalent? No. But what if you go to buy that house and let's say, for example, the homeowner forgets or, put it in and it's like, oh yeah, well, whatever, it's gone now. It went on my tax bill. I don't really think of it anymore. And they don't disclose it, right? That's when it gets to be a problem. And you can't negotiate something that you don't know is there. So it's incumbent on this. Go.
Sorry, yeah. So I put my consumer brain on, attached with my mortgage hat a little, and say, and maybe this is more of a question rather than a statement, but if I'm buying that house from you as part of our negotiation, can I not ask to see your property tax bill? Can I say, hey, look, I'm gonna go do my due diligence. I'm doing my conditions. In that condition period, your condition to me is that I want a copy of your tax bill because I want to A, make sure the taxes are correct, and B, see if that's on there now that I know this is a possibility.
You just said, you said B, see if that's on there.
B, see if nice. 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Delicious. Yeah, sorry, I cut you off guard there. So yes, you can. And I'll tell you, it is very rare for anybody who's buying a property to ask for the tax bill. It is not very rare for the listing agent when they take the listing to ask for the tax bill. Hey, give me your tax bill. Let me see what your total amount is that you owe. That's a standard thing that we ask for when we're selling your house.
Because that's how you guys get that for the MLS. Okay. All right.
It is not standard for the buyer agent to request it from the seller agent.
But now if you, and not to put you in a spot as a realtor,
that's fine.
Because there's things you have to disclose and there's things you only have to disclose if you're asked, correct?
Correct.
Right. So you now look at that tax bill, you know about this, and you're like, hey, there it is. Because one of your things too would be, we're going to put in that we got new windows and a brand new furnace and that. So that's a selling feature. But now you know that it's tacked onto this. So do you have, as a selling agent acting on behalf of the seller, do you have to tell them that?
You don't have to tell them unless you're asked specifically.
Asked.
That's the whole thing. There's a whole podcast that we covered a while ago about stigmas and responsibility of disclosure. So you can sell a property that, and this would absolutely be a stigma, right? You can sell a property that was haunted, and if nobody asks, hey, was it haunted? You don't have to say it was haunted.
It's, or that, yeah, somebody passed away in here.
Right. Yeah. You don't
Yeah.
have to disclose, you don't have to advertise a stigma, but if you're asked, you have to disclose. Now there's even a workaround for that, right? And this is it gets to a point where where does it go from like slick to slimy, or like to shady?
Do we use the word ethical, or do we not? I don't want to suggest that we do.
Yeah,
But
here's the
how
thing. You're as and it's a tightrope, because as an agent, you're legally obligated to do what's in the best interest of your client, not
client?
what's in the
Yeah.
best interest of the consumer. So it is absolutely tightrope, right? It's like, how do you thread that needle and still sleep at night, right? Obviously you don't want to be in that position. So you go back and you have the conversation with your client. Say, hey, look, you know what? This is going to put us maybe we'll get through everything until closing, and then it blows up at closing. So maybe it's better to disclose this from the outset, right? Versus maybe you move in and 2 months later, the neighbor tells you, oh, you didn't know that someone was murdered in this house next door to you, right? Like, what's the burden of proof? But the law says, and that's what we come down to, is, stigmas do not need to be disclosed unless you're asked. And then what's even crazier is if your client writes you a letter and says, do not disclose this stigma to any potential people, all you can answer when someone asks you, hey, was someone murdered here, is, I'm not required to disclose that information. I suggest you do your own due diligence.
Plead the fifth.
That's all. Yeah, that's legally all you can do with the letter that you have in your hand. So you kind of get handcuffed as an agent, where you're like, man, I don't want to do this. But it's the same as a lawyer. It's the same as someone who's defending a criminal, and the criminal's like, yeah, lawyer, I did it. And the lawyer just has to go to court and say, no, he didn't do it, and here's all the reasons why. That's the relationship that we create with our clients, and the relationship is with the client, not with the general public consumer.
This is a different podcast, and I'm sure it's been done, but it's for a second. It's just that I tried to sell my own house, or to buy one like Grapevine, like one time, and all of this after trying to do that for like an hour, I'm like, nope, I'm out. Call an agent. I'm like, no, I don't want to deal with any of this.
Yeah,
nothing. Didn't want to touch it after that.
It is like dipsy doodle stick handling. Like, how do you do it ethically without getting in trouble, not getting a knock on and doing it in a way that everybody is getting what they expect. So anyways, the idea behind shifting gears back to the Better Home Loan Ottawa program is, hey, you want to make these upgrades, you can't afford to go and buy a furnace because it's $7,000, you can't afford to go and get windows because it's $30,000, but it's going to improve your house, it's a home improvement loan. Here you go, here's the solution. But like I said, it runs with the property. So what we've done is we've put together a clause to add to our Schedule A, and not to get super boring, but it goes something along the lines of, when you're representing a buyer and you're going to make an offer on a house, just to make sure that there isn't this thing on the house. This, as the buyer's agent, you're going to say the seller represents and warrants the property is not subject to any outstanding loans through the Better Homes Ottawa loan program, and further, that should the property be subject to an outstanding loan, it shall be repaid in full by the seller at the seller's expense on or before completion date. Parties agree representation and warranty shall survive, not merge, the completion of the transaction. That just protects you if you're out there buying a house, right? Because there are some people who are going to go and max out this program, put $50,000, new furnace, new windows, new roof, new insulation, and then do it all through this program, and then be like, and it hasn't even registered on the tax bill yet. And like, okay, put it for sale.
First thing that comes to mind is when prices get to a spot where this makes sense again, right? That's a flip. So you're gonna buy a place and you're gonna flip it, which is fine. and you're going to do your work to upgrade it, but you're going to get 40,000, 30 grand, whatever it is, put into the tax bill, still upgrade the value, good, and walk away with that 40 grand. You never had to make that back. Like you walked away with 40 grand more than you probably should have, right? And
Slimy, yeah.
stuck it to the buyer.
Slimy professional home flippers, take note. Here is your
Yeah.
needle, the thread.
Showed you how to do it, by the way. Sorry. I just told you.
How to build a bomb.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. Like that, those programs have there's value to those programs. It's just, I find it's odd how they get administered,
Yes.
right? And it's such its own thing when we're dealing with government, because they're just, and this is not the conversation I want to take it to, but there's so much tunnel vision of just, well, we're doing a good thing, but they have no peripheral for what else goes into that, right? Like, again, we were talking about rent to owns a few weeks ago, right? The tunnel vision is, I'm doing such a good thing, and this is going to be awesome, until you find out how financing works, and it sucks. So like it's that they need to expand on how that's going to go to, and sometimes it's not going to be perfect. So there is going to be a positive and a negative effect to it.
Sure.
But as long as you can get ahead, like understand what those are on the surface, okay, well then rock and roll.
And you know, I think most people overall are just going to be good people and do the right thing, but there's always going to be some bad actors, and you know, we put everything in place that we can to protect the clients that we're representing. That's all you can really do. So
yeah, and I guess, like, if the worst case scenario is that you have a better home and it costs, the cost to do that is whatever more a month, and you don't have to do it as the incoming buyer, like, yeah, I mean, again, there could be worse things.
Yeah.
Right? They could have put lipstick on a pig and the whole house falls down. They probably didn't do that in this case.
That's the pig who puts the house together with sticks, not with bricks.
The first one.
That's right. Yeah. We'll come right back after the break. But if you guys are liking what you're hearing, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with all the different listing videos before they hit the market, and share this with someone who you think might be interested in not a property, this sort of conversation. And you can book an appointment with Kyle or I down in the Calendly links below, and we'll see you on the flip side.
This episode of the Real Collective podcast is brought to you by Real Collective. Real Collective brings together best-in-class real estate agents and collective experts in the field to deliver the best possible service to our clients. We govern ourselves with honesty, open-mindedness, and compassion. With diverse skill sets, our agents are able to better serve a wide array of clients, including first-time buyers, first-time sellers, transferees, estate sales, investors, and rural, vacation, and luxury properties. Authenticity and transparency are pillars of our process, which allows us to put our clients at the center of everything we do. Our years of experience and knowledge allow us to deliver prestigious service and optimal results. If you are interested in buying or selling your home, contact us today at realcollective.ca.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Real Collective podcast. If you enjoyed the first half, then you are likely to enjoy the second half. If you don't, then you can press the unsubscribe button. Please don't do that. You'll be one of only 3 people who subscribe to the channel. Just kidding. If you're liking what you're hearing, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share it with some friends. You can download us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or book an appointment with Kyle or I in the not Spotify. I'll get this one day. Calendly link below. In the first half, we talked about some cool ways to do home improvement, specifically the Better Home Ottawa loan. In the second half, we want to talk about some crappy ways that you can do updates for your property, specifically what might handcuff you. But before we do, just a quick update on 2 specific housekeeping things. One is that the inflation rate went up to 4%, so that's going to have a negative effect. And the other is double bend over. Your taxes by the city are going to be reassessed sometime soon. So both of those things are going to hurt.
Yeah, that's going to suck. Like, the inflation number came out yesterday, and it's gone up, and all the projections are it's going to keep going up, just because of, essentially because of oil. That's what it is. Like it's gas. Gas is the next biggest thing, I think, after the actual interest rate hikes,
Yeah.
which is
Mortgage.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, mortgage interest costs. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but again, if people do, assuming people listen, and I'll probably going to make some post about this to say, see, like I wasn't lying. Is a couple episodes ago when I had said, look, don't wait for the rate announcement to start thinking about what you should do or going to get a rate hold. By that time, it's too late, because that rate announcement does not affect fixed rate mortgage fixed rate mortgages.
Yeah.
Wow.
You got it.
So it doesn't affect that, right? So what's happened is the bond market, since that announcement, has actually risen back up. I have a post. It showed that the bond market had actually dropped. Then it started to creep back up. It was under 4%. Now that's just a coincidence, by the way, of the numbers. But now we're up over 4%. It's been steadily rising since the inflation number came out. Even after the Fed in the U.S. said we're not doing anything, but the market doesn't think Canada's gonna. The market thinks Canada's still not going to do well. So that bond market's rising. We will see fixed rates be up. Probably by the time this comes out, they've already gone up.
Yeah.
They'll be going up again. So now is the time. If you have something to do in the next 4 months, now is the time to get your interest rate locked in. I told you here twice now. Now is the time. Don't wait. Now is the time.
Hate to say I told you so. All right.
Yeah.
That the Strokes? Think so? Hate to say it. Killer?
Yep.
Yeah, Strokes.
No,
Yeah.
Strokes. Yeah.
Cool.
Great song.
Yeah, it is. So we'll talk about some ways that you can do improvements on your house, but not in a good way. You can get a reverse osmosis system from a guy who comes knocking on your door. You can get a hot water heater from a guy who comes knocking on your door. I had someone come by my house last night, and she was saying, "Hey, when was the last time you had the insulation in your attic taken care of?" I'm like, all of these, door-to-door salespeople get you a furnace, hot water heater, whatever it is. These door-to-door people, it's easy. And it's easy for someone to get trapped, right? Because they're right there, and some of them are good salespeople. Like I love listening to them. Like when they come to my door, I'm like, hit me, let's go. If I'm not in the middle of dinner, I'm like, yep, I'll listen to you. No, you're always in the middle of dinner when they're there. We cut our teeth. Like, that's how we got started, right? Like, but we didn't show up on your doorstep. We were like, hey, can we come over to your house before? But that's what we did.
And we didn't, and and I think we got to be careful too. Like those products are things you need. The insulation stuff, I mean, it does make sense. It's not a bad thing to do.
Sure.
It's how you go about it. That's the problem. And it's the information they don't tell you. That's the problem. You need a new furnace. Yes. You need AC. Yes. The insulation in the attic. It's good. That's a good thing. If you're not in the city of Ottawa, I mean, someone can argue with me on this. I don't know why you need a water filtration system built into the house. Buy a Brita. Like our water is soft. Okay. Like you can just buy a Brita if you're worried about actually drinking it. Don't. Again, buy a Brita. Fine. I don't have one, but you can. And it's like I don't know that you need that. And for the money and how they do it, it's terrible. And what they do in a lot of cases, I'll never say everybody, but in the most cases, is they're financing this stuff at an amazing payment, right? And I've said it before, as Canadians, we buy the payment. We don't buy the rate.
Yeah.
Buy the payment and date the rate. But when you're into these contracts, they're putting it on credit card style interest.
Yeah.
If you think really logically quickly, and you don't because it's in emotion, but $50 a month for a $10,000 item doesn't make a ton of sense, really. And if you did the math on that plus interest, that's a 20-year commitment for a thing that's supposed to last 10 years, right? Yeah. And that's on all of it, all of those types of products. So it feels cool, but there's a multitude of ways to finance that at a cheaper rate. Problem is you have to actually face that. Like you have to look at it. If you put it on a line of credit, if you put it on a secured line of credit, if you go to a specific type of finance company, not the ones they're sending you to.
Yeah.
You go to different finance companies, right?
Well, and the problem again comes to, hey, you know what? Sure, you can manage that $50 a month payment. That's not the issue. You know, you've got your furnace and it's $50 a month, and or whatever. Maybe it's $150 a month, but it comes with, you know, a service
plan.
Right. So, hey, if anything goes wrong, we'll come fix your furnace or replace your hot water tank. Most people have their hot water tank on rental through Alliance, and it just shows up on their bill, which is standard. It's these, you know, fly by night companies that have this huge balloon payment at the end. So when you go to buy out your hot water tank, you know, after 10 years and you've been paying $40 a month for it, and you realize, wow, it's still $3,000 after 10 years to buy out my furnace. And it really comes to light when you're selling your house, right? Because sometimes on these rental furnace, rental ACs, rental, you know, water filtration, or some of the fly by night rental hot water tanks, it's killer. Where you look at it, you're like, how do I still owe all of this money? I thought that I'd been paying it down. And
and
they put loans on your house.
Yeah. So what people don't realize is that you're going to sign that contract, and I don't know that they even explain this to the salespeople, because I'll use a personal story. But what happens is they will put a lien against your house. So if you think of it really simply, you've got your house and then you've got a lien, which is the mortgage, right? And it's in first position. And now some company comes along and says, "Boop, you just bought $30,000 worth of equipment from us, and we want to make sure we get our money. So we're going to lien your house." But we didn't actually tell you. That's what we did. So we're just going to put it there. So then you come to me in a few years and you're like, "Hey, we're looking to change our mortgage. We're going to move it to a new lender." Great. We do all the stuff. Not until a title search is done. And I can't necessarily do that. There's a couple programs, one at least, that we use, but it's not on every deal. And it doesn't necessarily have everything there. So the lawyer pulls that title. So we're at the closing table, and then like, "Oh, we found this lien. You owe this company $27,000, but I've been paying for it for 5 years, and it was only 30. Yeah, but at interest rates of 30%, a dollar of your 50 is going to the principal. So the other 50 is just interest." Well, they didn't tell me they were going to do that. They can't do that. Yep, they did, and it's too late. And then what happens is they're like, you can do what's one of two things. One, you pay it out, which now changes your entire deal because you got to borrow that money most likely.
Yep.
Or two, they do what's called a postponement. So on a postponement, what happens is when we, in theory, in like the ether, right? When we replace this mortgage for like a split second, there's no mortgage on your house, and then we're trying to put another one in. That's what the lawyer's doing. But on that split second, it goes boop. And now that lien is from your hot water tank is now in first place. And no lender will allow that to be in first place. None of them. So then they're like, well, this one has to postpone to second. But then you got to chase these guys, and you got to find them, and you got to call them. And then sometimes they answer, sometimes they don't. And I'm not exaggerating this, by the way.
Yeah.
I fought with this stuff for like over a month. Right. I had one gentleman I helped. He had 9 of these against his house. And this is a year later, and we still just got a new letter that's like, "You never paid us out, and we're gonna come and take your house." But here it is. Here's a letter from a lawyer that has no phone number and no way to contact them. But we're coming to take your house. Get fucked. No, you're not. So they're like, it's, you know. So then that's getting the involvement now. So it gets messy. So that's what people don't think about. They just see the $50, but right. It's a dangerous game. It's a dangerous game like that. It sucks.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, it's a lot of the times it's young salespeople who don't really recognize what it is they're doing, right? They don't realize
they will someday
handcuffs
when they buy their own house.
Yeah. Here's 9. Like what was in that house?
Everything, apparently, like everything we just said. It was blown insulation, door guy. There was a new hot water tank, door guy.
Right.
There was
furnace and AC.
What was it? Oh, the water filtration system.
Yeah.
In the city of Ottawa, you're on what? I don't know. Anyway, someone can argue with me about that. I don't get it. Buy Brita.
Well,
and then yeah, exactly. Yeah, let it run through some coal or something. Yeah. Charcoal. And then I can't remember what the other ones were, but there was a bunch. Like, again, not an exaggeration. We fought for a month to just get all the right paperwork to know how much we owed to be able to pay it out. It was nuts, absolutely nuts. Sad. It was sad.
Yeah, well, and the real sad thing is a lot of the time, not to peg it on someone, but a lot of the time the people who are getting this are people who are at home by themselves and they're older, right? And they're
100%. They're perfect.
They're the prey for these predators, and it's a sad state of affairs, and we see it when we go and we go and look for, when we're listing a house for sale and someone's older, or they're not living in their house anymore for whatever reason. And you start to pull back all the layers. You're like, oh, this is really weird. So yeah, save yourself from doing that. Obviously, it is important to make sure that you've got a working furnace, working AC. Go.
I do have a tip though, and I could probably get it to you because I don't have it at the top of my head.
Sure.
There's a website where you in Ontario, where you can pay, it's like $32, I think, to pull your own title. Okay. And see if you're sitting there saying, man, I bought one of those, like, oops, okay, I bought one of those too. You should pull your title. You should pay the $32, pull your title, see what's there. And what you'll see is all the title on your property and who's had liens and where's it's all gone. You'll see the person that you bought from and sold to, like, you'll see all that. And at the very bottom, because you're the last person to have bought that, the very bottom, there'll be anybody who's put a lien against your property after that. It's invaluable to do that. Invaluable.
I have access to that through Geo Warehouse. So
do you?
I can pull title. So I can pull all of that information. I can get all that. So if you'd like to do that, you can contact me through the calendar link below.
There you go.
If you're liking what you're hearing, of course, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with everything that's going on in the real estate world with the Real Collective, and share this with someone who you think might benefit from this type of information, this invaluable information. You can like us on Apple or Spotify. You can schedule an appointment with us in the calendar links below. Even if all you want to do is pull title, you can do that, and I'll do that for you, no problem. As always, thanks for checking us out, and until the next time, keep it real.
Collective.